Okay, this should be working. Oh, not my camera. Okay, 1 second. It's not plugged in. Oh, okay, 1 second. Thank you. Let me just see. Why isn't this camera thing working? Jesus. It was working like right before I did that. Let me see something here. No. Oh, it's this one. Is this on? Hmm. Uh, Let me try something. Technical difficulties. Why isn't this working? Let me see something. Hmm. Just trying to get the video up. Let me know if the audio is okay. I'm using a different microphone. It might be really. I think it's a little sensitive. Um. Okay. Let me see. Is it this thing? I don't know why it's not connecting. Let me try a different port. Working for. What is this? It must be on. Message up. The audio's bad. Okay. Thanks for letting me know. I'll fix that. I just fixed the video first. It was working before. Is it better now, or is it still bad, the audio? You can fix that. Mm, what's that I just working for? Alright, let me just see what I do. No, that's not it. I've been trying different things. I don't know. I don't know. The video like was just working. It's a little bad, yeah. Okay. Let me fix the audio first. Let's see now. Is that better? Let me know if that audio is better. Okay. Let me know if this is better or if it's worse. I'm still getting set up, guys. Just 1 second. Oh, okay. Let me see something here. Let me see if the video is gonna work. I don't know why, but for some reason it's not like showing anymore. Oh my god, I might have to do this without video. That would suck. Um, Let me just see if I can fix something. I'll be right back. we're almost there. Finally, Steve. Sorry that took so long. Okay. Uh, sorry about the audio. Trying to use my other microphone. I did actually get a new microphone. It's just not working. Oh no. Kayla again. Oh my god, sorry, I pulled up the wrong cord. I have so many cords here. Okay. Hold on. I just messed it up again. Oh my god, I suck at this. Let me try this again. Um, okay. Do I still sound like a robot? I did finally unplug the other microphone. I did actually buy a microphone for this, but it does make me sound like a robot. Um, so yeah, that just sucks. A cool robot, but a robot nonetheless. So finally we can start the stream. I'm sorry that took so long. I have to finish this by 9, but I think like an hour and 10 minutes is enough. There's 72 slides. It's a pretty long one. 72 slides, one slide per minute. We should be done in a timely fashion. Okay. So hi everyone. Thank you for coming to this stream and thank you for supporting this channel. The channel's kind of been coming to an end, as you can see from like the view count and everything. Um, I think YouTube slowed down for a lot of people. But before we get into all that, let's just start off here with my first slide. That 2025 couldn't end soon enough. For me, this year felt like here, like that ending of 2020, the first year of the pandemic with John Oliver, where he exploded the 2020 sign. That's what this year felt like to me. And I will be checking the chat, so thank you for participating. I don't know if the year felt like that for anyone else. But obviously, like this year sucked mainly due to political reasons, which we'll get into. But of course, this year also had some highlights. It wasn't all bad. So in this stream, I thought we'd just talk about the past year, wrap up this year, the good, the bad, and in between. And we're going to be talking about politics and pop culture and, what's been going on with me, what is the future of the channel. I'm currently in job recruiting hell, so I'm in that like subreddit with like over 1 million other people also in job recruiting hell. So that's where I'm at right now. That is my YouTube career kind of closes its chapter. But anyway, so yeah, part 1 we'll be talking about the 2025 elections, reasons why Democrats suck. Part 2 we'll be talking about pop culture, Taylor Swift, Cat's Eye, and Southern Fried Rice. I had a few people who wanted me to talk about Cat's Eye because that was my last really big video, and a lot of you guys came here for that. And Southern Fried Rice was actually a Patreon request because I actually never even like heard of it before they suggested it, so thank you. And part 3 again, wrapping up my personal thoughts for those of you who care. Thank you. I turned 30 this year, so finally feel like an old person. So yeah, let's get into it. Oh, also I was thinking about I just want to say thank you for those of you who listen to me on Spotify. I actually upload my video essays to Spotify as like a way for people to listen to them as podcasts. I actually don't make any money from that. So it really just is another outlet for you guys to listen to my work. So I want to just say thank you. I'm a top 10 show for 53 of my fans. So thank you so much. I've also been thinking about uploading it to YouTube, but it kind of makes my whole channel look weird, so that's why I didn't do that. But if you do want to hear my videos as podcasts on YouTube, let me know. So on to the next one. And also shout out to my patrons. All of the videos that I've decided to unlist from my main channel because they didn't do well view-wise, or like I just don't agree with them anymore, they're all on like this like vault, as I'm calling it.
They're in the vault. They're in an unlisted playlist that is only available to patrons and for all patrons here. So thank you so much to my patrons for continuing to support my work. I really couldn't do what I'm doing now without you guys. Um, so yeah. Oh, someone said I can barely hear you. Okay, let me try to fix that. Hmm, let me see. I know there's like this thing with my, I don't know why. Let me see if there's any way to fix that. Yeah, I'm sorry that my audio is so bad. Um, I really did try to invest in like a better microphone and it just makes me sound like a robot. Um, so I'm sorry, I'm just gonna try to talk like really loudly. Um, I guess so. Sorry about that. I wish like I had a better setup. Um, I don't know like why that microphone sucks so bad. So yeah. Let me try to like if I hold it like like this, maybe that'd be better. Let me know if like me holding it like this is better and less annoying to like look at. Um, so anyway, thank you again to my patrons. And now back to the presentation. And keep letting me know if like the audio is bad or if I could like speak louder or something because I'm trying my best here. But I know like it could definitely be better. And thank you to everyone who's joining in on this. So the first part I want to talk about is just politics. So I want to talk a little bit about the elections that just happened in towards like the end of the year, November. And that's when I started to like compile this presentation. So Mamdani became the mayor of New York City, which I thought was really important. And I'm from New Jersey, and Mikey Sherrill became the New Jersey governor. Not saying like any of these two people are perfect, but it does show like a pretty big shift in demographic groups when it comes to voters and what people want. And people want someone who represents them in politics, at least when it comes to minority groups. And again, I'm from New Jersey, so that's pretty exciting. And also, I'm just excited for Mamdani's career, though. Of course, we all should be cautious and hold people accountable. Like as an immigrant 2 times over, as someone who is an immigrant in the U.S. and who is an immigrant in Brazil, I can really relate to someone like him. So like I feel like a little bit of a connection towards this guy, and he's also in my age cohort. Like he's only 34 years old. Like that's insanely young. So I don't know. I just hope that means something for the party. And I'm not saying again that the Democratic Party is perfect, far from it, but they are supposed to be the only major party in the country that is supposed to be again in opposition against the right, against monopolies, supposedly for the people, against wealth hoarding. And if we don't hold them accountable, we're going to be in big trouble. We already are in big trouble. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I feel reinvigorated by that or not. But I think that we should at least hold on to like that little bit of hope, knowing that Trump's presidency isn't as popular as they like to make it out to be. Um, Let me see here. Okay, sorry. And at this juncture in political history in the U.S., you're either with the people or with the ruling Epstein billionaire class, and I'd say that really I'd hope to think that that really turns people off to the right, hence the shift in left that we saw with voters. For example, Mamdani with night shift workers versus Trump's $350 million ballroom. Um, it's like what actually speaks to people and gets people motivated to vote and to be politically engaged. Um, so, I hope that that momentum continues on. It was a relief for me to see at least, but we'll just have to wait and see where it all goes. Let me know if you guys can hear me and if this is coherent. Um, Again, I think it's important to remember that Trump isn't popular. People want free and affordable health care. They want protections for women and LGBTQ plus folks and immigrants. But they're again banking on using hate as a chaser, and it's worked like extremely well. There's like this one headline that really pissed me off when JD Vance says illegal immigrants are keeping you from owning your own home, as if homes are just like up for grabs theoretically, and that don't cost money, like as if you could just take a house as if they're like donuts. there's no logic behind what he says. It's just hate. And honestly, this is very hurtful. I I don't even know how to explain it. Like, it's just so horrible. Um, okay, thanks, but you can't hear me. But yeah, like, this is just, I think, one of the most hurtful forms of like political rhetoric, like that happened this year, saying that these people are stealing your home or keeping you from owning your own home. It's just such a blatant lie. And that on top of like the 50-year mortgage thing they're trying to float around is ridiculous. And, this is not normal. Again, like, it really reminds me of this internet meme. I don't know if it's like a meme or like from a textbook or something. I really should have looked it up, but that's basically, what it comes down to. And yeah, this has been floating around for a while online. Um, and again, there was the No Kings protests, and people have really like gone out there and tried to show that like this is not what we're about, or like that this isn't popular. Um, so yeah, and for me, 2025, the shift has shown that the people are not as quote unquote stupid as his party like thinks them to be, and that they're not like in the majority. All right, thank you. Um, and what's something that's interesting that I've been following online is that there's like this Reddit page called Leopard Ate My Face, and it highlights some of the wild reasons as to why people still love Trump. And one of them is because people think that he's going to redistribute the wealth somehow or give people money, specifically money from tariffs, like they're going to get like $2,000 stipends or something. There was like this one, I guess, tweet on Blue Sky that happened around mid November, and it says, the other thing you're going to see are these Trump accounts. Every child born for the next 3 years is going to get $1,000 in their account that's going to be invested in the U.S. stock market. Like, as if $1,000 could change anyone's life, but of course it is still a lot of money. But compared to what they have, it's like a crumb. And also, I don't know what kind of headspace you have to be in to believe that you're actually going to get money from Trump. Um, I don't know. There's people who really believe that. So that's a little scary to think about. But anyway, the good news is that the mask is slipping. Again, people are starting to feel the effects of Trump's economy. But then the problem goes to the Democrats, and that's why we get into why Democrats suck. And that happened again towards the end of this year when there was the government shutdown, the longest government shutdown, I think, in U.S. history, and the Democrats gave in. They ended it. Allegedly, from my standpoint, what I could see is because private planes couldn't fly safely. So that's what I think. But let me know what you think down in the chat. Thank you to the 20 people who are watching. And the really sad thing is that millions of hungry Americans didn't receive their full SNAP benefits or SNAP benefits at all, which included infant formula. And these people were used as collateral damage during the shutdown. And in the end, it was for nothing because, healthcare premiums are still set to double. And thanks to the 8 Democrats who caved and brought the shutdown to an end. So there was like this moment this year where the Democrats had some leverage to try to bring these people to the table, and it just didn't work. And a lot of people blame like the older Democrats for this. And though again, it's the Democrats' fault for not using the small power they had. It was Trump's administration that still told states not to issue full SNAP benefits to people as a way to like personally punish them and shift the blame again to the left. The Democrats like affordability hoax. And though, the Democrats are at fault and we should hold them accountable, it's not like the only reason. It's also because of this guy and everyone who's brown nosing him. So yeah, that's really what it comes down to. And what I'm really disgusted about is that there's still no free universal health care in 2025 in the US. And that's like, it's just mind boggling to me that people are so against that. So yeah, actually what's something that's interesting is that I actually finally caved and got Nebula, and shout out to FD Signifier for making this really great video on that person. And I'm sure like a lot of you have watched it as well. I just wanted to talk about some of the finer points of the video that really resonated with me, that I think really like brought this whole thing together, which is that they describe how Republicans turned Americans against universal health care post World War II. And there's like just this investment that white people have in white supremacy and how that just trumps, forgive the pun, everything to them. It trumps free healthcare like we just talked about. It trumps gun control to keep children safe. It trumps white women suffering domestic violence from white partners. They will give everything to protect whiteness if it means, even if it means they're going to suffer. Yeah. And I just thought that really made a lot of sense as to it's a death cult, like why it has like spiraled into like this where we are now in this political moment. And that's a really interesting point that he kind of just said as like a throwaway line was how Eminem was like the last popular anti-establishment angry white guy in the mainstream. And what's really ironic or interesting, I guess, is that angry white men are now pro-establishment, pro-Christian values, pro-conservative values, pro-U.S. nationalism, and that's just kind of funny, I guess, to think about that now. People who are angry at the system actually want to uphold it, I guess. Pop culture as increasingly conservative, with Christian themes in the mainstream. Alex Warren Ordinary can be taken as one. I put Benson Boone here. Maybe he doesn't deserve to be there. But I just thought it was a really interesting point that FD Signifier made in his video. That I remember growing up in the early 2000s, and there were like angry places for angry white people, white men specifically, to go to when they were unhappy with their lot in life. Like Nirvana, Linkin Park, Green Day, Simple Plan, maybe Blink 182. I didn't listen to Blink 182, so I don't know if they are anti-establishment. But now it's like these angry white boys are being funneled into like conservative podcasts. And I'm not saying that that's like the solution to like this problem, because in FD Signifier's video he talks about shooting, so that's why like this whole thing came up. Because I grew up with like this I grew up like with these bands that I'm talking about and these acts, and there's still like tons of angry white male adults out there. But at least it was like this alternative anti-establishment sentiment in the mainstream. Bush wasn't like cool, he wasn't like a hero, he wasn't our dear leader. People weren't like kissing his ass, I guess. There wasn't like this pro-Christianity sentiment in popular culture, and now there is. Now it's like we need to make America great again, make families again. And I find to be interesting, to say the least. Let me know what you guys think about that down below. But that's just something that I had thought of. And actually, I wanted to shout out this other creator that I've been watching, JGP Unfiltered. I don't know if you guys seen this guy, but I think it's an opposition to like what we see with these like dogmatic white male creators who are like, reassert your life, reassert your position as a man and things like this. This guy actually talks about how husbands and fathers need to also like help out at home, and that's a given. That's not extra help. It's just something that you do regardless of being asked. And I just thought that was really refreshing to see that be so popular. And I hope that other men are watching this content as well, to counteract like that other toxic content that we just talked about. Cheyenne, your audio is super low. Oh no. I know it's super low. Oh God, sorry guys. I'm really trying to like scream here. It's just like my microphone that I had for the stream, like it really doesn't work for whatever reason. I'm really trying my best here. So thanks for bearing with me. But if you want to close out, that's fine too. It's just because the other microphone made me sound like a robot, and also it's not like the best. So, but thank you for staying with me and letting me know that my audio is not good, because I will try to speak louder. So yeah, I just really like this guy's content. And to wrap up this whole like political section, the 2028 presidential election is coming, but also the 2026 midterms are coming. So I hope we finally see that blue shift, and that the Democrats don't fumble that. Who's gonna run for the nominee? I guess we don't really know right now. AOC, Newsom, Obama. I think Newsom has a pretty good chance, even though he has like tons of issues and he's pretty centrist, pretty conservative. I don't know. We'll just have to wait and see. I don't think that Trump's gonna make it to a third term though. So we have that to look forward to. Um, my final thoughts is that you can't run in anger forever. Innuendo Studio says in his All Right Playbook video, I think that's why we're gonna win this thing. It's because, they're running on empty feelings. And you can't throw minorities on the bus forever. But they will try, so we have to remain vigilant and remember that this moment in history is not normal. Um, so try to stay hopeful out there and just remember that this is not normal and stay safe. Um, so I guess we're gonna go to the pop culture section. This one's gonna be a little bit more lighthearted and less dramatic than the political one. Please let me know how the audio is doing, if it's okay or not. I'm really trying to yell here. So let's get into the pop culture one quickly. So part two. So I want to start out with Taylor Swift, Life of a Showgirl. She really showed her ass in this one, literally and figuratively. It got like totally panned, and I'm actually not a hater, just a little bit. I actually even liked the Tortured Poets Department, like her album before this. I'm a long time listener. I listened to her for like 15 years. But I'm just critical, and I think that she's finally like really showed her ass, unfortunately, or for who she really is. So the album itself just felt rushed and misguided. The songs are just like background noise. It's still quite low to some extent. Okay, thank you. I really like don't. I tried fixing like the settings on this thing. I just don't know why. Let me see if I can see here. Projector, performance. Oh no. Uh, okay, never mind. Sorry, but yeah, thanks for letting me know. But yeah, the song just kind of felt rushed and it felt like background noise to me. I don't know if you guys listen to it at all. I only listened to some parts. And one of the main criticisms I saw online of the album is that it's like a Sabrina Carpenter cash grab. That she's trying to piggyback off of Sabrina Carpenter's aesthetic and success and popularity and trying to remain like relevant. And that criticism irks me a little bit because it starts painting Taylor as like an old lady who wants to steal like the show from a younger audience. And older women are already sad about getting older, so we don't need to villainize them further, and compare them to like younger women. At the same time, of course, like I can see it, and I do sort of agree with that. She wants to have her showgirl sexy moment, and she's a billionaire, so of course she's gonna get it, even though it's not good. Um, and then there was like this whole thing that came out with the album about like some of the merch she was selling with these lightning bolts that reminded people of SS lightning bolts from the Nazi secret police or the Nazi state police. And then they were comparing like what real lightning bolts look like next to lightning bolts on her necklace and saying that there are 8 lightning bolts, 4 on each side, and that was like a dog whistle, or just like an unfortunate coincidence. And then more recently, as of December 9th, there was this whole Rolling Stone article that was basically saying that Taylor Swift's last album um, sparked, I'm just going to read the headline, sparked bizarre accusations of Nazism. It was a coordinated attack. Um, and apparently, like, that turned out not to be true, or at least, like, not as salacious as that sounds. And there was like actual concerns about this. And also, it doesn't help that she hangs out with like MAGA supporters, like Brittany Mahomes and this guy Chase Rice. Clearly, she has like no problem rubbing shoulders with these people. Um, so there's that. Let me see if this is better. Um, so yeah, I don't know. I don't know if people are disappointed in her, even with the volume maxed out. Oh my god, sorry guys. Let's see. Should I try the other microphone again? Let me try the other one. Let me try the other one.
I'm gonna try the other microphone. Hello? What about, is this one better or is this one worse? Because I did get this one, and let me know how that one is. Let me see if I can listen. Is this one better or worse? Let me know down below. Okay, the mic is better. Okay, so I'm just gonna continue with this one then. Um, I'm laughing, it's louder, but it's robotic. Robot voice is an odd choice. Oh God. Is it still robotic? It's louder, but you still sound like a robot. I don't know, like, let me see if I take out the headphones. Is it still robotic after I take out the headphones? I don't know if it's like the connection. It's like the wire. Let me see. Is that better or does it still sound like a robot? Stream fail. I'm sorry. At least like it's louder, but um let me know if it's better like this or if I should use the other one. Thank you guys for still sticking with me, even though the audio is bad. Should I just keep it like this then? You're a robot, but it's okay. All right, I'm just gonna keep it like this one. Even though I did take out the headphones, I did take out the headphones. I thought that was the problem with the robot voice. But okay. You just need to S. Must be in settings. Yeah, I've had this microphone for a really long time. And let me see if there's any. Oh, and now to rotate. I am your leader. Yeah, I really wish like there are no settings on this OBS thing. I'm not using Streamlabs. But I'm just gonna keep going because I only have like 40 minutes left. A lot of slides to get through. But thanks for sticking with me. At least it's louder now. But yeah, in the end, with the whole Taylor Swift thing that happened this year, I just hope it shows people that, she's just not one of the people. She's not your English teacher. She's not a poetry professor. She's a billionaire private jet having, MAGA friend having white woman. So I guess there's really nothing more to expect from her as a person, unfortunately. Um, and I also wanted to talk a little bit about the racism from her lyrics that were pretty telling. There's like this one lyric that was going around online that says, "I'm not a bad bitch, this isn't savage," and some people thought that was talking about Megan Thee Stallion. I thought that was like the meanest thing that came out of the album. Like that's very telling and wrong and just mean, and she like is obviously jealous of her. I don't know. It just felt like very misguided, racist and weird. But again, showing her ass. Um, and then also like what is interesting is that I just thought it was interesting to point out that her that she has like love interests of color in her music videos, but not in real life. Maybe only Taylor Lautner. And I just want to preface that saying that not that she has to date a non-white person to be not racist, obviously, but I just like now seeing how she is under Trump, it just feels like more clear tokenism and like this way of trying to be progressive without actually caring about um, like black people or indigenous people or people of color in general, Asian people. Like it's clear like she has like no like that. It was just performative, performative diversity. So that's telling. And of course, like this has been a running theme in her music for a while. She had like these 1830s lyrics in "I Hate It Here," where she wishes that she could have like lived in the 1830s, but without all the racists and getting married off for the highest bid. And then she ends it with "Nostalgia's a mind trick. If I'd been there, I'd hate it. It was freezing in the palace," because she would have been in the palaces. And that's really all she knows is, wealth, romanticizing American dynasties. It's because she was born into wealth, unsurprisingly. And, I thought Taylor singing about this kind of stuff is kind of interesting because I also used to imagine myself in different time periods, like when I was a preteen, I would imagine myself as Kirsten Dunst and Marie Antoinette because that was one of my favorite movies growing up. But as a non-white kid, I realized that in this fantasy, like I couldn't be Asian. And that is like what the insidious thing is about white supremacy, is that it makes non-white people look up to white-centric histories and stories written by the victor. That you become an outsider looking in, longing to belong, longing to be portrayed as beautifully as like white people's stories are. And I remember like at the time that Marie Antoinette came out, like Memoirs of a Geisha, I think came out either a year before or a year after. That was really like all we had. And it was written, of course. The book was written by a white guy, and it was directed and written like the movie by two white people. So, I thought that is something more interesting than what Taylor was writing about. And also doubt, like in the song "I Hate It Here," she talks about how everyone hated that. She pointed out like all of like the problems of the 1830s, and I doubt that she was even like self-aware enough um, that she realized like the implications of the time period she was romanticizing, and that her friends got mad at her for ruining their game. Um, I just thought that was weird. Final thoughts about this is that I just hope this is the last we see of her for a while, and I think it will be um, going into 2026. Um, Again, some people wanted me to talk about Cat's Eye um, because I did like a pretty viral video about them. They're actually coming apparently to Lollapalooza in Brazil in 2026. I was gonna do the Gabriella hands. I don't know how many of you actually know about Cat's Eye or watch them, but the hands are. I'll do the hands. Like everyone was doing this. I thought that was kind of funny. Can you see this? Do like this. It's like from their song Gabriella. But people like love doing that on not on TikTok, on YouTube Shorts because I don't have TikTok. But anyway, like the video that I made earlier this year kind of went viral, and it was aimed at like the male influence behind the group, and how they commodify young women's bodies. So I thought that was like something that that is something that I really care about. So thanks for the people who wanted to hear me talk about them. Um, and I feel like maybe they are getting more control over their image. I mean, Megan apparently made this barcode tank top. So maybe they have some influence in their marketing and branding and artistry, but we don't really know everything that goes on behind the scenes. So I take everything with a grain of salt. And what's interesting actually recently, towards the end of this year, was that Manon um, made like a video on TikTok about the racism that she's experienced as like the black member of the group. She says, "How do you go online and you're being racist? Are you not embarrassed?" And in the video, she actually kind of like got a little emotional at the end. So I don't know, it's kind of like sad to see because they're like they want diversity, but they also like I don't know how well equipped they are to like handle like actual racism that these people face. Um, um, Let me just see here. Forgive me. This is too far up the manosphere. We should always cover what happened with Clav. I don't know who that is. Sorry, but I will look it up. It sounds pretty serious, but okay. Thanks. Sorry, I'm just reading the chat. Um, and then also like the youngest member of Cat's Eye, Yoon Jae, is now 18, so now she's like barely legal. Um, And people are wondering if they're gonna start removing like her clothes, like to bare her midriff and stuff, because she usually wears extra clothing because she's younger. And there's also like a Reddit page dedicated to her because she was a minor. So that's sad and scary. And what's also interesting is that on YouTube Shorts, her videos, like the one where she's in the thumbnail, are some of the most viewed. For example, they did like this little video down here where she's holding a hair clip like this. That got like 10 million views, and in my mind, it was because she was in the thumbnail, and they don't really even do anything in that video. That's like her power. So their tour just ended, but they're going on another world tour next year. And I am aware that they're highly curated, but I still love their songs, and I wish them all the best. Um, and they're actually nominated for a Grammy this or in 2026. They're nominated. They're nominated for Best Pop Group Performance and Best New Artist. Let's see if they're gonna win that. Let me know your predictions. But in the end, stop being racist towards Manon and Lara specifically, because that really sucks. Okay, so now on to my patron request. This is gonna be a little long, but hopefully not too long. And I don't know how many of you have even heard of this show because it didn't do very well. It's called Southern Fried Rice, and one of my patrons wanted me to talk about it. So Southern Fried Rice. I did watch the first few episodes. I didn't really like it, so I stopped watching it. And the discourse has mainly been backlash. It's an Asian American women didn't want the show or know about the show, and Black women are not having the show either, which is ironic considering it was written by a Black woman, Nakia Stevens, and greenlit by Key TV or Kiki Palmer's production company. And it just got like totally panned. Like people hated the show. And it centers around a Korean American adoptee, a girl named Coco, who was adopted by two Black parents and who goes to an HBCU and comes into conflict with some of the students, mainly Black women, for not being Black, but attending an HBCU and looking and dressing the way she does, and her language affectation. And I just didn't get even the premise for this. Why are we centering an Asian person at an HBCU setting? It kind of reminded me of like this Vice article that came out, years ago in 2018, of where it started, instead of talking to the other Black HBCU students, they focus on this like one white guy who goes there. And yeah, it is still on YouTube, so you can still watch it. So yeah, it just kind of gave me that vibe, and it just felt like it exists to bring up like bad faith arguments about reverse racism and other BS like that. And kind of like legitimizing that sort of stuff, which turned out to be pretty dangerous considering the political climate we're in now. Um, and if we're gonna actually do this story, to me, it would make more sense for Coco if Coco went to like South Korea or something to try to find her birth parents or connect with that culture, or even try to go and find other Asian American people and see how they receive her. As an adopted person, speaking as an adopted person, I at least have never felt fully either like white American, obviously, or Asian American. And I would think Coco would feel the same, at least have this awareness that she's not a Black American and that she's not really an Asian American either. Um, other Asian American students in college that I met, had trouble with me being Asian because I was adopted. So I just thought like that is an experience that exists, but with other Asian people. Um, so yeah, that it was just a really weird missed opportunity. So it makes me cringe that this is Coco's first encounter with feeling like an outsider too, because how can she not realize that she is an outsider? Um, like you're just telling me that she's just so unaware of her Asianness that she doesn't see that she's being offensive. Though I guess it does happen more than I'd like to admit, i.e. Aquafina. So um but let's keep going. And what's interesting is in the series we're supposed to feel sorry for her and the discrimination she faces from other Black female students, like her roommate, and see that as wrong. Um, and what's interesting is that in the reviews that I've seen, Nakia Stevens has actually been accused of painting Black women in the show as caricatures who bully Coco's character unfairly. And I don't get why she would write them in such a way. And it just feels like, again, a weirdly conservative argument that, Black people are racist too, and they're just as bad. And though, everyone has racial biases and holds racial biases and can be racist, why make the show at all if it can't really even go there, and have like honest discussions and instead just create caricatures of these characters? Um, if we can't like acknowledge that, she isn't Black, but also by having Black parents that affected her upbringing. And also, people thought discussions of colorism were lacking in the show about how light-skinned Black women and East Asian women are lifted up in like the HBCU space, and how colorism and racism affect all of us differently, but especially, of course, for dark-skinned Black women. So that's what people thought was missing from the series, at least the gist that I got. And there's also been talks about how why is this like Black cultural production uplifting or centering Asian American people when Asian people and Asian American productions rarely uplift or center Black people, especially Black women, especially dark skinned Black women. And like why are they centering Asian people? So I thought that was a fair criticism. Again, I have Cat's Eye here with Manon. Again, her casting in the group sparked discussions of colorism and discourse like that. There just seems in the end what I got from the show is that there's a lot of there's a lack of self-awareness to the production, where I think it could have been an interesting thing to have a story about, but there just needed to be a better execution, and in the end, it just offended a lot of people. Um, Actually, what I thought would have been a more interesting story that could be told, not by these people, but by other people, which is the Mississippi Delta Chinese population that was mentioned in Ryan Coogler's Sinners. Um, and like I didn't even know that these people existed, but they've like lived in Mississippi and in that region for like 100 years or so. So I thought that was interesting. And another thing that was interesting, and speaking of Asian people, not giving credence to Black art or culture in their own works. Maggie Kang is Korean Canadian. She wrote and directed K-pop Demon Hunters. Is that in the movie K-pop Demon Hunters, they don't give any credit to Motown or Black American influence at all. Which was very surprising because it's a well-known fact that um, that K-pop itself was shaped by Black American culture. So especially like Motown and forming groups and things like that, like girl groups and boy groups, and I don't know, it just felt like that was seriously lacking. What was that about? They instead, of course, heavily lean into Korean mythology, which I think is really interesting and, of course, makes sense. But I did feel like it was odd that this fact was missing. That the fact that K-pop has multicultural origins, that it's a blending of cultures, that it's, we could, and that's a forgiving way to put it. It could be seen as appropriative. It is appropriative to some extent. So the fact that it's not a purely Korean thing was missing from the movie. Again, that's no hate to the people who bring these characters to life, like EJ, who's been in the K-pop industry for like years now. But just that I think it's important to remember that K-pop doesn't exist in a vacuum. So that's my little spiel about that. I know it's not like the most popular opinion, but it was like a glaring omission from the movie, or at least from the historical part. I speed run the end of this. These are like the movies, TV shows, and books that I read. Thank you guys so much for watching. I feel like I've been streaming for like an hour now, almost an hour. So thank you so much for sticking with me. The show is still on YouTube, by the way, Southern Fried Rice. It's not very good. I mean, I think that the actors are doing their best, obviously, but it's just the writing, it really offended a lot of people. So the movies. So the movies that I watched this year, these are the most recent ones. Of course, Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro was amazing. Um, really surprised with Jacob Elordi's performance as the monster. Just 10 out of 10 all around. The Materialists I really liked, even though a lot of people hated it. And of course, Wake Up Dead Man, 10 out of 10. Um, Wake Up Dead Man, like I'm still thinking about it. I still haven't really formed any thoughts around it besides I love the title, Wake Up Dead Man. I don't know. I'm not gonna spoil it, so I won't get into it. TV shows. I started watching Man on the Inside, which I thought was really good. Dragon Ball Z, I started watching for the first time. Um, 8 out of 10 when it comes to like my interest in the story because it's very juvenile. I think, of course, like if I grew up with it, I'd be more nostalgic. But the art behind the scenes is just amazing. Like I can't stop watching behind the scenes of how they put that show on paper, and it's like the artistry is just insane. How much love and time and care, especially in like a world of AI now, like to see like actual paintings. I don't know. It just, you know, there's no words for it. The books I read this year, I read Pachinko, 10 out of 10. There's actually an Apple Plus TV show adaptation. I have not seen it. Yellowface, which was meh. It was by R.F. Kuang. And Nobody's Girl, which was Virginia Giuffre's posthumous memoir. Really good, really hard to read, but if you can stomach it, I would definitely say you should read it. So that brings us to part 3, the end of this journey. Thank you for sticking with me. My own personal thoughts about this year as we reflect back on it. I turned 30 this year. I was born in 1995, crazily enough. And, I think I finally feel like an adult and old. The 25-year-old teen mom discourse is real. And for those of you who don't know, I am a parent. That's why my stream got delayed yesterday. I have a crazy 3-year-old. And I think I've been reaching a point in my life, and it actually coincides with my YouTube channel slowing down, is that like I need to move away from content creation. I think I'm just so burnt out after 6 years of making YouTube videos. Of course, I love it. I always feel like this need to create and put my thoughts into like a physical thing, whether it be art or videos or writing or even streaming. I just need to like get it out there into the world. Um, I have like that need. But I think as I get older, I'm just more tired now, to be honest. I don't have the momentum to really keep going with this. Of course, like I'm still gonna keep my channel. I'm still maybe gonna post the occasional video. I'll still like be online for my patrons, but I'm not feeling it. And I think that social media now has definitely shifted more towards short form content, which I am not good at or familiar with. Um, and which I think is really hard to edit, to be honest. So shout out to everyone who can make viral short form videos, because it's not as easy as it looks. I've tried. Um, but yeah, I don't know if that speaks to people's attention spans or just like a shift in what's popular. Um, and I think I've seen like a lot of other channels too, like kind of slow down or make less videos, or YouTube's getting less views, or people are on YouTube less. I think maybe people even just want less video essays because they just can't even be in that headspace right now of like serious topic. At the same time, the Fun Plan just made like one of the best video essays of the year. That's like 4 hours long. Um, but I think that like me as like a one-person production, you know, um, maybe like my time has just come to an end on YouTube, and that's okay too. The, yeah, things don't last forever. And I'm just so grateful for how far I've been able to come with this platform. I'm so thankful to like every single person who's subscribed to me, who's watched my videos, who has cared enough to pay attention to what I've had to say, and to validate the work that I've put into this. So thank you so much. Um, last thing is that I try not to doom scroll so much before bed. But techno fascism too is like always in the back of my mind. Um, this is like a little out there. Um, but are we reaching the singularity? The more like I'm out in the world and I see people like constantly on their cell phones, and like me too, just like looking down, like my brain is constantly online. So one day, like I just think like one day we won't even need our bodies anymore. We'll just be like uploaded to the cloud, and we'll just be interacting like virtually. We spend so much time online. I do, hooked up, plugged in. It makes me wonder when we won't need like our physical bodies anymore. And it reminds me of this episode from Jimmy Neutron where like they meet like this advanced civilization and they're just brains. That's sometimes what I feel like when I'm like plugged into my phone. I just feel like I'm just like, I don't know, like I'm just eyeballs, you know. And then I wonder will we even survive until then. Um, Let me just see here. Um, I'd say attention time, at least for me, is still very unique video essays. So you barely make what others do. Okay. Thank you for appreciating my unique perspective in the video essay space. Hopefully, this won't be the last of me. But I just wonder, like, will we ever be hooked up to a matrix? And as we wrap up here to conclude with the political stuff, I think a lot about like the downfall of the U.S. As if it was ever that great to begin with. But it still does. Like I think we can still recognize that. At least I can recognize, or that I'm sad about the state of the U.S. Not knowing that it's not the best country in the world. But for me, at least, so many other immigrants, who have immigrated to the U.S. whether of our own free will or not, it's our home, and to see it how it is today, like it's just I can't stand it. Like Kristi Noem, like what a, like I have no words for that. Especially as me, like as someone who has never got to grow up in the culture I was born into because I've never been to China. But I grew up in the US with a white American culture, and with American culture in general, Like I want to share that with my own kid, with my son, but it's hard now to even visit my own family and friends because of the border control and ICE and all these things. I can't go back. I just can't support that. And I don't want to be there when it's like that. And it's just sad knowing that. When will it ever go back to normal? When will it ever be okay again? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Like this is just a stream of consciousness thing, but I think we can acknowledge that the U.S. isn't the best country in the world and never was, but also kind of mourning it for what we liked about it, and that it just is so far from whatever we thought it was. I don't know if anyone else feels like that, but I do. Going into next year, my final thoughts: let's just keep fighting the good fight. Don't be silenced. Remember that this isn't normal. Um, try to get into community with people. Someone posted an interesting skeet that was it was about the title Wake Up Dead Man. And it's Wake Up Dead Man is about how important it is, not necessarily faith, but reaching out to other people, kindness and hope, and wake up the dead person inside of you, because I think a lot of us, at least I do, just feel so dead inside, I'm done with this world. At the same time, just have to keep going, just have to be with other people. As much as we are on our phones and connected to our phones and connected to the internet and online spaces and are being radicalized, our physical bodies are still here, on this planet. We all need to get along to survive. And some people are threatening that, and that's not okay. And I think that there's enough of us who don't want that and who will stand up and care about the world and other people. So, power in numbers. So let me just check out here. Um, so yeah, thank you so much. Definitely did try to understand your points of view. Okay. So thank you so much to everybody who has stuck with me to the end. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys next year. Have a happy new year. Have a good break from work, and be with people that you love. So yeah, thank you so much. Bye. The sign off here, and thanks for sticking with me despite the audio problems. I'll just check here if anyone says anything left in the chat. Okay. Bye. Just having us have a lovely year.